Just from the things that have been said from the panel and from the audience, does anyone here think that it's possible that a teenager who has a lot of self-esteem and confidence, love and support from family, people to talk to, a very good life, a lot of self-respect, still might want to have sex?
Sure. Yes. 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 But, see, the key is, though, they may want to, but if that's a decision that they're going to make, then they also have to take on the responsibilities for whatever they're going to do in that decision. And that's fine with me, because you're absolutely right. There's no guarantee that's going to protect people's sexual desires and drives. It's a basic need. You can't get around it. But if you're going to make that decision, then you have to know, what are my options, what are my alternatives, and if I'm mature enough to make this decision, then I got to also think about all the ramifications and everything else that's going to come from that. But you're right. There's no panacea that's going to stop people from wanting to have any type of sexual activity. You can't. It just doesn't exist. I don't think it does.
The sexual drive is a gift. It's something that is natural, healthy, pleasurable, powerful, but it's also mysterious. And I think we have to respect all of those aspects and dimensions. The other thing is, too, does the drive control you, or are you in responsible control of the drive, too? I think that gets lost many, many times, you know. Does the dog wag the tail, or the tail wag the dog?
Yes.
Right.
I'm the mother of sons, so I'm kind of looking at this from the opposite side. I think we, as mothers of sons, parents of sons, have to teach them to be responsible as well. It's not only the girls that they're the ones who end up with the problem, but the males, I think, have to be made to be responsible, be aware of what their part in this whole situation is. I happen to work with young people, and it's frightening when you talked about the misinformation that they have. It's absolutely incredible, the misinformation that is out there, and the AIDS and all of that situation. They don't think it can happen to them. You have to make them be aware. If they're going to be sexually active, you have to give them the information that they need.
Jim, can I just add on to what the woman in the audience just said? What's real alarming is not only are the students misinformed, up to all ages, even at college level, but so are some parents. And that gets very scary, because I'm all for promoting sex education in the home and having the parent as the primary person to do that. But when you find out the parents aren't comfortable about it, their knowledge is a little bit shaky because they never had it or they never talked about it in their own relationship, and then we have this whole new problem that we've sort of got going here, because not only are the friends and the kids misinformed, but so are the people at home sometimes, and that just sort of compounds the problem.
Jane, I wanted to throw a question at you, too, and I know you have a comment in this area. You had mentioned earlier about talking about teaching the girls. When you worked with the girls, then there was anything done with the boys? Because many of the girls were multiple pregnancies, right? And obviously, some of the fathers, probably of many of the girls, was the same person. What was done?
I'm glad you asked that, because that was one of the things I wanted to say. I think it's a myth that only the girl hurts. If there's a pregnancy, there is a father and there is a mother. And I think that the teenage son or the teenage partner, the male partner, also hurts too. He hurts in varying ways, and you may not know that he hurts. He doesn't carry the baby, but there's a hurt there, and many times a lifelong hurt, and responsibility more than we give the males credit for. We have had good success. There's a lady in the audience who has been a really valuable person to our program. Dottie Shell has the early intervention, and she has been teaching the prenatal part at Montgomery Hospital to our students. The partners are invited to attend all of those sessions, and I'm happy to say that we've had some night programs at Roosevelt School where the program's being held, and at least 70% of the partners have come for some kind of education. And it may be for the labor room part, it may be for a parenting part, but oftentimes we don't give them credit for what's really hurting them.
I'd like to address first, since you asked about the males, the young men do hurt, and sometimes they're willing to come up to the classes and sit on in the classes, and they're really active participants in the classes. They want to know as much as they can about the pregnancy, as much as they can about the labor and delivery, and they really want to try hard to support this baby. It's difficult. They're still in high school. If at best they're working part-time. I'm just working with one young man right now who is graduating not at Norristown School, but at a different school, basketball player. He's going to go to school on a scholarship. His girlfriend just had a baby. He's not going to school, dropping out of school. And he has no support except for what we can give him when he comes to classes. There is no place in the community where he can go right now for support. And he's afraid to reach out. He doesn't know who to reach out for. So it's a big problem in the community to support the teen father and to encourage the teen mother the minute she becomes pregnant, finds out she's pregnant, to get into prenatal care so she can have a healthy baby. I think we have a whole other issue here when we're talking about sexuality. We bring this baby into the world and dealing with all those needs. I mean, it magnifies. And the teen, I work with teens every day who are pregnant, and some of them are pregnant because they're in poor home situations, and this is love. Some of them are pregnant because of low self-esteem, and okay, their parents are supportive in many ways, but they haven't been taught to make responsible decisions. They've been too taken care of. And some of them are just kids who do make good decisions, but because they're teenagers, they are not mature in their judgment. But judgment doesn't start maturing until they're at least 17. You know, adolescents can't always make good decisions, even though they think they are. So some of the kids who have all the right things going for them get pregnant too, even though their parents have taught them everything, even though they've been active in their church. So it's a real multiple problem. And when they do become pregnant, though, I firmly believe that we have to support them and help them get their education and, you know, take care of their children while they're getting their education.
I think the school district should have a daycare program. I really do. I really, really do.
May we clap? May we clap?
Now, we actually have somebody here who can talk about that, because we have talked with Dr. Holton about a daycare program, and they have actually started investigating and looking into this. And if we have some time tonight, maybe Mrs. Taylor can talk a little bit about this and what has been done. We have another phone call. You're on. Welcome.
I kept thinking about this 12-year-old child, okay? I'm just wondering, at 12 years old, where was she at that she was put in this situation? In order, you know, to be
anywhere.
have sex. Where was she at 12 years old?
She could have been at school.
At school.
Unlikely, though.
She could have been at home, a
Yeah, at
latchkey
home.
child. I know a lot of children at that age who go home to an empty home. In fact, that's a very vulnerable time frame. From 3 to 5 is where a lot of activity occurs from all age groups, and because there's no one there to turn to.
And another thing is, like these girls go around bragging and say, well, everybody's doing it, everybody's doing it. Don't you think there's just a few that are doing it and they'll envy the ones that don't, and they want them to get into it, and they just envy them because they just destroy themselves, as far as I can say. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them brag because they want the other girls to get into it. They're envious because they done it and the other girls don't do it. And I think there's a little envious there that they don't. You know what I'm saying? That they keep themselves away from fellas. What happened to the good old days? Wait till you get married. You won't have to worry about all this. You know what I'm saying? We had to wait. Why can't they? I know it's a different good old days. But you wouldn't have to worry about age. You wouldn't have to worry about getting pregnant. Just wait. Get married.
Okay, I think we have a response for you here with your
I
comments.
hope
Thank you.
so.
I'm not quite sure. I used to think there were the good old days, but I remember girls when I was in high school getting married at 15, 16, 17, or dropping out and never seeing them again. Today we see our pregnant teens, they stay in school because of programs like Roosevelt, and they're not getting married. They're going on. They're not being forced into a marriage that maybe obviously they're not ready for, but they're trying to build their lives in spite of the child.
Mrs. Taylor, the daycare issue came up, and I know that you have looked into this and have talked very closely with Dr. Holton about this. What kind of things have you found out about that?
Just that there are various school districts that do offer programs for teenage mothers to, they'll have a daycare on the premises or in different...
Push the weight.
Press it all the way down.
And maybe in an adjoining school district that they might have a type of program. I became very interested in it because I had a student in my homeroom that had to drop out of school because she had no one to take care of her child, and she could not go on with her education, and she had to stay home with the baby. And I thought, That's awful. You know, we have a program for the students when they are pregnant,
We should have
but what
one.
are we doing for them after they have the child? How are we helping them keep with their education, build their self-esteem, getting them life skills, so that they in turn can be better parents to their own child? And hopefully then Norristown will be looking into the different programs that are offered around the county and possibly setting something up like that.
All right, Jane, you have a response,
yes,
and Father
Jim.
Heron does also.
There is a program sponsored with a consortium of Methacton, Colonial, and Upper Merion, and they have a program at Audubon School, or the old Audubon School, where the infants are cared for and there's a counseling session to help the young mother. Norristown has chosen at least 2 years to not join and support this consortium.
Do you know the reasons why we have made that choice? Is it purely a financial thing, or are there some other things that...
The last year it was a financial thing, yes. The transportation was expensive, and so they wouldn't do that. We have to feel, working with the young people, that the cost of not educating the mother and the cost of the abused child because the mother is unhappy
It costs
is
the
a bill that
taxpayers
we
more
will
in the
all
long
pay
run.
very carefully. Nancy is, I think, proof of this. Nancy had child care provided and a support system from the time she had the baby.
Was that provided from the district, or...
It was Teen Services. It was a program funded by the United Way.
It was Children's Aid
Yeah,
Society.
Children's Aid Society. Teen Services program.
Is that no longer in effect? Why?
That is no longer in effect, and that was because it was a very difficult thing to get providers, parents, women who would stay at home for the amount of money they were being paid. And so that is no longer in effect. But this program at Methacton right now is being run, and I think there are 4 or 5 young ladies in it. And one I remember very vividly was in our class, and you wouldn't have dreamed that this girl would make it. And she is going to graduate in June and is a wonderful mother. So it is proven that the welfare roles the girls are not looking for welfare. It's unfortunate they have the baby, but now we have 2 problems if they drop out of school.
Okay, Father Heron.
The Catholic Social Services provides a network of support for any student in the Archdiocesan school system who becomes pregnant, to help them in every way possibly, medically, financially, placement in a home, develop their skills to provide for themselves and be self-sufficient, provide opportunities for that to occur, and to enable them to continue their education. I've had the fortune of dealing with a number of young girls in that situation and have seen them go successfully through the program, the network of support, and come out much like, at least from the impression that I received from Nancy, who is here today, that they are in control of their lives and they are living very productive, happy lives. And they've grown greatly because of that network of support.
This certainly sounds like an area that we in Norristown should continue to look into, and I'm sure that Mrs. Taylor and others who are interested will continue to do so and see what can be done. We have another phone caller. Good evening. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I think Norristown and all school districts should offer classes to young men regarding to young ladies. Once they create these newborn babies, that they should have an input on taking care of them. Teach them how to be fathers.
I agree.
I think that we need parenting classes probably in general, not for those students who are in that situation now, but for future, because when you mentioned the sexual abuse and the child abuse issue, a lot of this just goes around the parenting skills that lots of us just don't have, because obviously you don't get an owner's manual with that child. So that's a real good point, that we probably should have those not only for the person in that situation, but for future parents from our schools.
Okay, we do. That is immediately raised. We have a couple of people to respond to that. After the students heard the one day, for instance, is that really enough to go through? I think Nancy probably, if we gave her some time, could share with everybody here what having a child means. I have an article back here that I'm not going to read that resulted from a letter to Dear Abby, where the young lady talks about the amount of time she has to put in taking care of the child from 5 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night when she finishes her homework. Maybe if we had all of our students do this for a couple of days, boys and girls, they would realize what a serious, serious thing it is and how difficult that is.
There are school districts that build their daycare into the home economics department, and parenting is offered. The children come, and the daycare is on the school premises. The Kennett School District in Chester County has this. They have had no repeat pregnancies in 3 years. They have not had one teen mother have to drop out. And the teen fathers are included. The teen mothers have to come down at lunchtime and feed their children. They have parenting classes. And it's been a wonderful example for all the students in the school can find out what it's like to be a parent. And they've just built it into the system. And they feel that it will have an effect on decreasing the birth rate, because the kids are going to see how hard it is to be a mom and dad, that being sexually active might mean being a mom or a dad. And so they can look at it from that aspect. You know? I think it's a neat program.
All right. There are a couple of our young people here who have had responses to some of the comments recently made.
As far as daycare programs are concerned, one mother that I know asked, she herself is the daughter of a teenage mother. She herself is a teenage mother. She wants to know what to tell her son so that he doesn't put someone else in the same situation. I guess this is also having to find a way to do this without having him lose respect for her. Also, does anyone have
Is she a teenager now?
Yes.
Well, I think when she gets older, she'll know. I don't know. If my son was 17 years old, I think that I could sit down with him one-on-one and say, if this is what you want to do, this is what's going to happen. You better, if this is what you really think you want to do, I'm going to help you protect yourself.
At 17?
Yes.
Before that, maybe.
Oh, yeah, or before that. I just used that as an example. I would seriously, I would try and talk him out of it, first of all.
Okay, yeah.
I would. Because I think teenagers are too young to have sex, period. I don't think you're mature enough.
Just to follow up with what Nancy I think that the young teenage girl has to try to start communicating right now, I mean, in terms of at a very, very young age. Again, the Archdiocesan school system has put in place from kindergarten through 12th grade. I shouldn't say put in, they are right now, presently in September, going to put into place a whole program of progressive sexual education and sexuality. Another thing too, when the boy gets 15, 16, or 17, when he comes home from a date, how was your date? Did you have any sexual urges on your date? When are parents going to ask that question and be relaxed even asking that question and having the kids respond to that? That's real open communication when that can start happening. That's what we promote.
I wanted to say that I think it's very imperative that all teenagers should know that there's so many other things you can do other than have sex. I mean, with a kiss, you can do wonders to a relationship. I mean, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to or you feel uncomfortable with. I think everybody should know that.
I think we also should address the double standard, because for a guy, he's out there, he's cool, he's getting experience, and a lot of people think that the guy should be experienced, and if a girl does it, she's easy.
If a guy does it, he's cool.
Yeah, I mean, the guys need to accept a little responsibility for themselves.
They need to grow up.
Yeah.
I don't know what percentage it is, but I have dealt with young men who have come to me and have said that they have received pressure from their girlfriends, okay? I agree that the normal stereotype is that, but that's because it's so emphasized by advertising and media and movies and things like that, that they have models of machoism and things like that, and hopefully that will break down, but that's where assertiveness has to take place and a rethinking of their own personhood.
It was said a couple times that teenagers should talk to their parents about it, but the plain fact is a lot of teenagers just can't talk to their parents about it. They don't feel comfortable talking about it. They don't want to. Just a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about it to parents. So what else can they do if they can't talk to their parents about it?
This also has come up in the result of some polls that people have taken, that the kids feel much more comfortable maybe in school, talking with someone in school, counselor, teacher, someone in that line. And maybe some of the people on the panel could respond to that about who may they then go to, who may they then feel comfortable with.
I would hope that each of you had, if not more than one special teacher. One special teacher that you could say, I am really having a problem and I don't feel comfortable talking at home because right away they'll think I'm doing it.
Or maybe a relative.
And it's somewhere, but they've got to talk. They must talk. And I think Nancy's correct in not using peers for information. To go to
Don't use your girlfriends for information.
for
They'll
comfort
mislead you.
and support, but to try to find your favorite teacher.
Or an aunt, or a cousin, or an adult that you're close to.
I wanted to say in response to that, if a person or a teenager, anyone who isn't mature enough or responsible enough to talk to their parents, then how can they be mature enough to take such responsibility as to have sex?
It might not be that they're not mature enough to talk to their parents. They just may not have that openness with their parents. And who knows, their parents may just be a little off the wall. They might not all be all together.
Yeah, that's it. I have to piggyback and ditto exactly what you said, Nancy. You're making the assumption that every parent is on the ball.
And they're not.
And I mean, sometimes I question my parenting now with 2 toddlers. It's not an easy task. And I would just say that I think that leads us back to the need for this preventative type counseling situation, this assertiveness type training. Why does a student have to seek someone else? Seek someone out, a relative, a teacher? Why can't we provide that communication level to be there? That magic circle, that value clarification type program, the rap group, this type of thing. Why can't we provide those avenues as opposed to having to seek out someone?
One of my biggest fears when we started tonight was that we would go about 10 minutes and all die right here on television. Our time has come to an end and we do have to wrap this up. I think we've made several points, very, very good points, that hopefully everyone has heard. And one of the things that I would hope that would come from this, that if young people need to ask questions and need answers, that hearing their young people, hearing the parents, and hearing our guests, they do realize that they're not alone in this kind of a situation. There are people out there who will listen to them and can help them, and if not being able to help them directly, can put them in touch with someone who can give them some help. I think it's very, very important that young people feel that they can do this and that they feel comfortable with getting answers to their questions. I would like to thank very much our guests tonight. It's a pleasure listening to you. You have been very helpful, and I'm sure that the people whose questions you have responded to appreciate all the help that you have given them. And I would like to thank all of you in the audience, students and parents, for coming and helping be a permanent part of what is the first of what may become additional ones, if we can all persevere in the future, evenings like this. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good evening the rest of the time. Thanks again.